Welcome back to the channel. Today we will explore a shocking revelation from music legend Diana Ross. At the age of 81, she spoke for the first time, telling the truth behind her special and mysterious relationship with the king of pop, Michael Jackson. These sincere and emotional shares not only surprised fans, but also revealed many unknown aspects of the deep friendship between the two world music icons. Don't take your eyes off the screen. The truth is about to be revealed. Everyone has heard of the relationship between Diana Ross and Michael Jackson, but do you think it was just friendship, or was it more? If you ever suspected something was up, comment 1, and if you thought they were just friends, comment 0. Don't forget to subscribe to support the channel. There are many behind-the-scenes secrets waiting for you to discover behind the spotlight. He started his career at a very young age, and I had the opportunity to introduce them on their first television show. But there was a truth that Diana Ross kept secret for more than 50 years. Their relationship was more than just friendship. It was complex and haunting to the point that even those closest to Michael Jackson dared only whisper in the dark. Diana Ross was his mother, his sister, and there were many things that Michael could not or would not say. It was this ambiguity that dominated their lives for nearly half a century. They shared an apartment together during filming something that few people knew about. Michael Jackson did not attend Diana Ross's wedding, an action that surprised many people. However, in his last will, Michael mentioned Diana right after his biological mother. Those actions seemed silent, but were extremely profound and meaningful. For many years, no one dared to clearly mention this relationship until Diana Ross decided to break the silence at the age of 81. This was not a simple love story, but the biggest secret that Michael carried with him until the end of his life. Now, layers of mystery are being revealed as if Diana was too tired of keeping everything secret. Not everyone knows that the first time Michael Jackson met Diana Ross was at a Motown event when he was only 9 years old. A small boy with a confused look in his eyes stood still in the middle of a crowd of adults full of scrutinizing and expecting looks. He didn't say much, just stood near his brothers in the Jackson 5 group, his hands shaking but trying to stay calm. In the middle of that crowd, Diana Ross approached, bent down, and called him "honey" with affection. That moment began a relationship that lasted a lifetime. Diana Ross at that time was no longer a rising star, but the queen of Motown, a symbol of strength and perfection. Diana Ross always knows how to behave and answer every question as if she had prepared it. She is a model of confidence, beauty, and power in the music industry. The special relationship between the two has surpassed many normal limits, making people curious but never clearly explained. That connection is not only limited to music, but also a deep part of their private lives. Now, when Diana decided to tell the truth, fans have the opportunity to understand more about this special relationship. Let's follow to discover the secret behind two world music legends. She had everything Michael never thought he would have the permission to shine naturally. When Diana looked at him, her eyes were like no other, without pity or reserve, just gentleness and deep understanding. From that moment on, Michael was attached to her in a way that was hard to describe in words. Later, he summed up the feeling in one sentence: "Mother, sister, and lover all rolled into one." It was a strange feeling, completely different from ordinary relationships. It was not maternal love, nor was it exactly idol or fan love. Instead, Michael found in her a place to breathe in a world full of pressure that demanded he be someone else. Diana gave him the feeling of being himself without having to pretend or hide anything. She was not just the spotlight, but the only person who pulled him out of the shadows without any reason. In 1971, when the show Diana aired, the whole of America saw Michael standing next to her on stage. He performed naturally as if the spotlight had belonged to him since birth. But few people knew that it was Diana who taught him every step, from how to smile to how to keep his voice from shaking in front of the camera. She never forced him, but gently reminded him, patiently waiting for Michael to grow up little by little. That was the first time he really shone, not because of his technique or natural talent, but because someone believed he could do it. The feelings between them were never officially named because invisible boundaries always existed. A poor black boy and a woman who had become a legend, that gap was much larger than age or status. However, the connection between them was so strong that many people were curious but did not dare to question it. It was that ambiguity that created a deep, strong connection that lasted for many years. Diana Ross was not only a guide in Michael's career, but also an invaluable spiritual support. She gave him a security that he had never had before. That helped Michael become more confident and steady on his challenging musical path. Their relationship also reflected the dark corners of life and the loneliness of big stars. When Diana decided to speak the truth, it was not only a personal sharing, but also a testament to feelings that transcended all conventional definitions. And now fans have a better understanding of the real Michael Jackson alongside the shadow of Diana Ross. They knew that if they crossed the line, everything would fall apart. So they both kept quiet, said nothing, and continued to move in their own orbits. However, they always had a place in their hearts for each other. Michael may have never actually called her mom, but every look he gave her spoke volumes. And as he grew up becoming a global icon, people still saw a little bit of Diana Ross in the way he stood, the way he spoke, as if she had not only taught him how to sing, but also how to be a human being in the spotlight. After all, some people come together not by fate, but by timing. And for Michael, meeting Diana Ross at age 9 was probably one of the first things that saved his soul from the lingering loneliness that would follow. In 1978, when Michael agreed to star in The Wiz, a modern adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, with an all-black cast, many thought it was just a career turning point. But for Michael, it was the first time he was with Diana Ross. Not just a few hours of visiting, not just backstage at a few shows, but day after day in the same project, living the same rhythm. Diana played Dorothy, while Michael transformed into Scarecrow, an innocent, pure character who always wanted to learn how to think, just like he was in real life at that time. What do you think when Diana Ross only revealed the truth about Michael Jackson at the age of 81? If you believe she kept quiet to protect him, comment number 2. But if you think this is the time she wants to say it all, comment number 5. Don't forget to leave a like and a sub to support the channel and discover more fascinating behind-the-scenes stories. Michael had just turned 20, no longer the Motown prodigy, but not quite a man either. He struggled with his image, with the deep emotions he had never dared to express. The Wiz was a commercial failure, criticized for trying too hard to be special. But that didn't matter to Michael and Diana. The rare private time together was the most precious thing. They had been quietly drawing closer for nearly a decade, never crossing the line. For the first time, Michael could sit down to dinner with Diana without having to rush or avoid the manager's gaze. One detail that made many people in the film crew whisper was that Michael invited Diana to stay overnight at the apartment he rented during the filming. No hotel, no film crew, just the two of them. No one said what happened. Diana did not explain. Michael did not repeat it. But the incident made the assistants whisper in the dressing room. That intimacy surprised everyone. Not because there was anything wrong with it, but because it was so intimate compared to what one would expect from a celebrity. Diana remained quiet, not defending herself or taking advantage of the attention. After the whiz, Michael changed dramatically, more thoughtful and smiling less for the cameras. But there was a serenity in his eyes, as if he were closer to what he had always dreamed of. It wasn't romantic love, but acceptance and permission to be himself. He could be vulnerable to be close without fear of judgment. In the film, they performed two songs together, Ease On Down the Road and Brand New Day. The melody is cheerful, the lyrics hopeful. But those who pay attention will notice an invisible connection between each note. They don't act, they don't pretend, they just connect with unguarded eyes. The Whiz was a commercial failure, but for Michael and Diana, it was a quiet victory. A victory of sincerity and deep affection. The most beautiful things sometimes come from the moments that are not praised or applauded. It was those quiet nights of filming in that small apartment where only they knew what really happened that created the sacred connection between the two. Their relationship was not a public story, but a private thing without promises or rings. Just a moment together without fear of gossip. They found safety in each other in a world full of lights and pressure. That is what made their feelings special and unforgettable. That relationship went beyond what the public saw like a carefully guarded secret for many years. Diana Ross was not only the person who guided Michael's career, but also the person who brought him peace of mind. The bond between them was not something that could be explained in words or measured by success. It was a complete understanding and acceptance, a solid spiritual support for Michael on a difficult journey. When the stage lights went out, it was just them and those quiet moments. And that was also the little-known story that had the greatest influence in their lives. And for Michael, that was enough. Michael Jackson is remembered for his dazzling halo, his gravity-defying dance moves, and his eyes that sparkled behind elaborate makeup. But just once, he let that mask fall. Not on stage, not in a song, but in an interview where he said what many thought was just a rumor, a figment of the imagination of overzealous fans. In 1982, Michael Jackson, already an international star, but not yet in his Thriller heyday, was interviewed by Ebony magazine. In the studio, amid the flashbulbs and polite laughter, the air suddenly became quiet. Michael trembled, but spoke clearly, warmly, "That's Diana Ross. I love her." His voice was firm without beating around the bush, without hidden meanings. His smile at that moment was not for the public, but as an admission to himself. This was the first time Michael dared to confess something he had kept secret since he was a child. He shared that some people would not take him seriously for saying this, but he did not care. Michael's words were not just a simple confession of love, but also a firm declaration in a world full of prejudice. At the time, Michael was in his early 20s, while Diana Ross was 40, a significant and challenging age gap in the eyes of society. However, he did not let that affect his heart. He wanted the whole of America to know that if he had the choice, he would marry Diana immediately without hesitation. This was especially true in the context of prejudice and racism at that time. It is not easy for a black man to openly express his deep feelings for a diva who is almost 2 decades older than him. Diana Ross, the icon of beauty and power, is someone that few people dare to mention in this way. But Michael did it gently but firmly, as if everything in his world was possible with her by his side. For him, it did not need social acceptance, just genuine feelings and daring to speak the truth in his heart. Maybe for many people it was just a passing sentence in an old interview, but for Michael it was something that could not be hidden forever. When the interview was released, some people were shocked, while others thought Michael was exaggerating. But if you listen closely, you will see that he did not say it to shock or create public opinion. He said it because it had been in his heart for so long and finally needed to be called for what it was. It was a sincere and courageous confession from a young man in love with an important woman in his life. Michael was not afraid to face prejudice to protect that feeling. And it was that moment that left a deep mark in the hearts of fans and in music history. But perhaps what saddened him most was that his words were not believed to be true, as if his love, no matter how real, was never taken seriously. But he said it anyway, because some things once said are enough to live forever and in Michael's heart. Perhaps it was his bravest moment, not when performing in front of millions, but when he sat alone in front of a camera and dared to say that he loved someone with everything he still held inside. It wasn't the stage lights, the cheers from thousands of fans, or the chart-topping records that silenced Michael Jackson that night. It was a wedding invitation, a simple white card sent from a villa somewhere in Europe, sender's name Diana Ross, groom's name Arne Næss Jr. In the mid-1980s, when Diana decided to remarry a Norwegian businessman, the world seemed to explode with congratulations. But Michael, he kept quiet. Michael did not attend the wedding of the woman he had publicly declared his love for in the press. He quietly avoided her without any reaction or congratulations. Relatives said he could not hide the deep pain in his heart. There were no more comfortable smiles, just empty days avoiding mentioning her name. The music was also silent. Life seemed to lose its vitality. Each passing day was a moment of silence in his heart. When asked why he didn't attend the wedding, Michael replied simply and firmly, "I love her and always will." No one dared to ask more. To the outside world, he was the king of pop, a symbol of perfection and success. But in that moment, he was just a young man sitting in front of the wedding invitation of the only girl in his heart, knowing that from now on she would call someone else her husband. That silent suffering was invisible to anyone, but it gnawed at him every minute. Unrequited love was the deepest and quietest pain in Michael's life. It didn't need noise or drama to exist. Every song unwritten, every lyric unsung contained that loss. His eyes, though silent, revealed everything. Even though she belonged to the world, to millions of fans, he kept her to himself. The person he loved never belonged to him, but that feeling never faded. A friend revealed that after Diana's wedding, Michael withdrew from activities for a while. Outsiders thought he just needed a break, but in fact, it was his way of healing his heart. No one blamed Diana. She had the right to choose her own happiness. In a small corner of his soul, Michael was still the boy standing behind the stage. He looked up at the place where the lights were shining on her, not daring to come closer. That unrequited love still burned silently within him. The most painful thing is not that she married someone else, but that the love is still intact, never fading. Michael kept a silent love without demands, without blame. A feeling that only the person involved could understand. Music became the place where he hid the things he dared not say. Those pains and feelings that had never been named were sent into each hit that became famous worldwide. Music was his deepest heart. Michael once said that music was the bridge between him and the outside world. Through music, he conveyed emotions and stories that words could not fully express. His unrequited love for Diana was a part of it, although not made public but always present in every melody. It was a testament to a man's sincere and courageous heart, a love that, although unrequited, still retained its value and profound meaning. And that is also one of the little-known secrets about Michael Jackson's life. Two songs have been whispered and speculated about for years, Dirty Diana and Remember the Time. One is full of fiery anger, the other is as gentle as a memory. Two seemingly opposite tones, but both evoke the same name, Diana. Maybe he denied it. Maybe he said Dirty Diana is about a certain type of person, ambitious women who cling to the limelight waiting for their chance to break into an artist's life. But what happened next raised eyebrows because the day Michael first copyrighted Dirty Diana coincided exactly with the day Diana Ross married Arnie Ness Jr., a coincidence too perfect to be coincidental. And remember the time. His brother Jermaine Jackson wasn't subtle. Michael wrote it for Diana, he said bluntly. A song that isn't as technically complex as some of the other hits, but there's something about it that keeps people listening to it over and over again because it evokes a very specific feeling, something beautiful that happened but can never come back. In the music video for Remember the Time, Michael plays a man of desire in a royal palace where the woman is too powerful, too far away to reach. A strange juxtaposition if one remembers that in Michael's heart, Diana was mother, sister, and lover all in one, both intimate and untouchable, both tender and unattainable to him. Michael never really made it clear. He left things ambiguous as he often did with his private stories. But if you look deep into his eyes during the performances of Dirty Diana, where the emotions are suppressed uncontrollably, you will see something more than the music, something like anger. But it is the kind of anger of a one-sided lover watching the other person walk away to someone else without looking back. And Remember the Time feels like a gentle whisper without resentment. Just, do you remember, doesn't need an answer, just a way to hold on to a piece of the past even when no one is listening. Maybe Michael never wanted anyone to know. Maybe he thought if he kept quiet, those songs would live their own lives unlabeled, undisturbed. But people aren't naive. They listen, they see, and eventually they understand that sometimes love doesn't need to be said in words. It just needs to ring through the drums, through the singing. And only those who truly love can hear what's between the notes. So Dirty Diana could be about anyone. But for Michael, it was probably always about someone he never had and never forgot. Not the songs, not the stage, not the carefully staged interviews, but the private, unscripted recordings that truly revealed Michael Jackson's truest feelings. In a series of leaked tapes from the early 1990s, Michael confided in a friend named Glenda about a relationship he had kept secret. And in a moment of being caught off guard, he blurted out what everyone had wondered but never dared to be sure of. It was unrequited love. Our relationship was only in my mind. A simple sentence, but it touched the hearts of the listeners. All his life he stood in the spotlight. All his life millions of fans called him a star. But in the end, he was the one who quietly loved someone who didn't love him back. A feeling that had simmered for years from when he was a boy, first led by her until he became a global icon, and it was still known to him. However, some people deny it. Some fans claim that Michael confirmed that he loved her romantically. I don't know about Diana. Some people claim, others doubt. But the important thing is not whether Diana knew or not. It's how long Michael kept that feeling, because you don't keep something in your heart forever if it's only fleeting. And then there was another comment. Not loud, not harsh, but it made everyone stop. Another reason I laugh when people say he doesn't like women, he has a shrine behind her in Neverland. A small room not on public tour, nor designed to be shown to anyone. It was just a private corner where Michael hung pictures of Diana and kept small mementos related to her. A quiet, sacred space in the noisy world he owned. Even though he had the whole world at his feet, he still needed such a place to continue loving hopelessly. That unrequited love was not a burden, but gradually became an inseparable part of him. That room was as quiet as his heart, always containing secrets that only he knew. Unrequited love was initially a private feeling, but gradually became a habit, and then became Michael's identity. He did not try to make her realize it, nor did he try to change anything. That feeling was kept in peace, like that small room full of memories. Among the hundreds of rumors about Michael's private life, some were true, some were false, but the truth was that he loved someone who did not belong to him. The most painful thing was realizing that, but not being able to stop loving. This is not a story of fighting, but of quiet acceptance. Not all legends are written in triumph and glory. Some, like Michael Jackson, are shaped by the things that never happened, but still cherished as the most precious treasures of life. People say Michael lived in a different world, but when you look at his will, you see that his heart never left reality. That quiet, deep love was the most real and human part of Michael. It was not just a memory, but a part of his soul. And it was the last secret he kept for the rest of his life. And there, amid the legalese and the dry numbers, was a name that gave many people pause: Diana Ross. It was not a coincidence. It was not a courtesy. It was not a name added for the sake of formality. Michael had made it clear that if his mother, Katherine Jackson, could not care for his 3 children, Diana would be next on the list, not his sister, not his best friend, not some distant relative, but Diana, the woman he had called mother, sister, and lover, all rolled into one. This is no longer an artist-for-artist relationship or an old relationship between 2 former stars. This is family. Michael would not entrust his children to anyone other than those he truly trusted. And that says it all. When you choose someone to entrust your children's lives to if you are no longer around, you are saying the most important thing without saying a word. This is a watershed act. It was not only a testament to Michael's deep affection for Diana, but also to her important role in his life. Diana was not just his first love or someone he secretly loved from afar. She was a sacred part of the smallest circle that Michael called family. Diana's silence when she knew this made that affection even more mysterious and meaningful. They existed in a private space without explanation, without exaggeration. Outsiders found it difficult to understand that deep connection. One might wonder why Michael, who was reserved and skeptical, could have such faith in someone who was not his own blood. In fact, there was only one person he felt safe calling family outside of his own blood, and that was Diana. That affection did not need to be confirmed by marriage or vows. It was expressed through simple but meaningful gestures, like naming her in a legal document. It was Michael's way of saying, "I trust you more than I trust myself." Even though he was gone, Diana's mark on his heart remained. Michael Jackson captivated the world with his legendary moonwalk and signature voice. But before he became a legend, he was just a little boy who admired Diana Ross. She was not only his idol but also his mentor and creative role model. Michael admitted to copying her every gesture and every signature ooh sound. The 9-year-old boy standing next to Diana during rehearsals was an eager audience member, learning how to command the stage with confidence and charisma. Diana didn't have to teach Michael how to shine. Just by existing and showing confidence, she inspired the young Michael. The boy's curiosity, admiration, and passion permeated every step and every movement he made on stage. It was the source of the artistic DNA that Michael carried throughout his career. He not only sang, but performed with a grateful soul for the person who guided him. Michael himself openly admitted this with pride and sincerity. That love and admiration did not stop at the stage lights. It built a solid foundation for Michael Jackson as a person and artist. Diana was the first light that illuminated his artistic soul, helping him understand the power of presence and how to connect with the audience. In interviews, Michael shared that Diana was an endless source of inspiration for him. This was clearly shown through his performance style and unmistakable confidence on stage. That affection was a priceless gift that Diana gave Michael throughout his life. And finally, it can be said that the connection between Michael Jackson and Diana Ross goes beyond the limits of ordinary love. It is a connection of souls, a deep understanding and trust. Michael once called Diana mother, sister, and lover in a single sentence that contains a lifetime. That relationship does not need explanation or recognition from the outside. It exists forever in their hearts, a sacred part of their artistic and life journey. And that is the secret that Diana Ross finally shared with the world when she turned 81. But with Diana, Michael called her name because she influenced not only his performance, but also how he defined himself. Consider Michael's early fashion sense, the glittering suits, the sharp tailoring, the mysterious glint in his eyes, all reminiscent of Diana at her Motown best. It was no coincidence, it was a continuation, as if he were continuing the story she left behind, but with his own material, with his own body. And through that influence, Michael became not a clone, but a new chapter. One that took Diana's diva energy, then mixed it with the boldness, the strangeness, and sometimes the deep loneliness that was uniquely Michael. The ooh he uttered to millions of fans who knew it had echoed in the boy's head the first time he saw her sing. The way he turned his back to the audience, then slowly turned his head. Perhaps it was precisely this gesture that he had memorized from his early days on tour with her. True influence need not be so obvious. It lies in the seemingly small things that touch the deepest part of a person. Diana planted a seed, and Michael let that seed grow in the spotlight for the rest of his life, not as a debt, but as a silent but ever-resonating gratitude. The 81-year-old woman is not often seen in public. Quiet, private, sometimes just a glimpse out the window in a snapshot. But lately, relatives say she has begun to talk more. Not to tell grand stories, not to reminisce about past glories, but to unburden herself. She spoke on a damp afternoon, her hair streaked with gray, her hands no longer as steady as before. Her voice was even not trying to be dramatic. But the listeners held their breath. Michael loves me in a way that can't be described. The sentence seemed to float in the air, and yet it made the room suddenly feel very small, very real. Someone laughed awkwardly, thinking she was joking, but she looked straight at them, shaking her head. It wasn't a passing thing, it wasn't a passing infatuation. It was true love. No embellishments, no tears, no quotes, just the words of an old man old enough to have no need to prove anything anymore. Mother, sister, and lover, it wasn't a casual remark. She sighed. I heard him say it the first time he said it, and he never said anything else. It was speculated, but she never confirmed it. For decades, she kept her distance enough to not hurt Michael, but enough to not cross any lines. She knew what she was in his eyes. She had watched that admiration grow over the years from the eyes of a Detroit boy to the man at the top of the music world. And it was that truth that prevented her from returning Michael's feelings, not because she didn't care, but because she understood the fragility of love mixed with admiration. He gave me a kind of love that I wasn't sure I could handle, Diana once said, not dramatically, but very honestly. She knew Michael's feelings were serious, so she didn't dare break them. When asked if she had ever loved him, she just silently looked at her cold cup of tea. I cared about him very much, but to love him like he loved me, I couldn't dare lie. That alone was enough to understand the depth of that feeling and needed no further explanation. Some things don't need to be made public because they are so deeply ingrained in both of their memories. The most painful thing is not that the love was not reciprocated, but that it existed in silence untouched. No one knows for sure what really happened between Michael and Diana. There are no photos of them kissing, no public moments holding hands. Everything is fragmentary, an interview remark, a fleeting glance, a clause in a will that many consider a formality. But when pieced together, the story emerges more clearly than ever. Michael once called Diana his mother, sister, and lover, but not three different people, but only one person. The person who appeared in his life since he was 9 years old, standing trembling under the spotlight. Diana was the first person to believe in him, put her hand on his shoulder and said, "Just sing, you can do it." For Michael, her presence was not only affection, but also a solid foundation that shaped the person he would become. In 1982, he publicly said, "That's Diana Ross. I love her." It was not a joke, but the truth from the bottom of his heart. When Diana got married, Michael didn't attend the wedding. He didn't send his blessing, he didn't smile, he just quietly withdrew as if a part of him had been taken away. A close friend said he couldn't hide his haggard face when he heard the news. Not out of jealousy or anger, but a deep sense of loss that only those who have unrequited love can understand. Years later, the copyright registration of the song "Dirty Diana" was discovered to coincide with Diana's wedding. It may have been a coincidence, but in Michael's world, few things are random. Michael's will surprised many when he chose Diana Ross as the guardian of his 3 children if his mother was no longer able to care for them. A signature, a name, a position not simply out of affection, but out of absolute trust. In conversations with Glenda, Michael once admitted that it was unrequited love. But those close to him also confirmed that he loved Diana romantically. A witness who had been to Neverland recalled the small room where Michael placed Diana's photos, softly lit. It was a private place of worship without ostentation or explanation. We don't need Michael and Diana to publicly declare their love. No need for a filmed kiss or a lavish wedding. For Michael, that love was complete enough when kept in the heart. As for Diana, perhaps the silence for many years was not because she didn't love, but because that love was too real, too fragile to be exposed to the public spotlight. There are pieces of the story that never find their perfect place until both of them leave this world. But when we look back, we still see an eternal love. The love between Michael and Diana was filled with admiration, inner conflict, and silence. It was expressed in the smallest of actions, from the look on stage to the name in the will, from the whispers in interviews to the secret room at Neverland. All were silent punctuations of a love that needed no name. They may not have had a full-blown romantic relationship, but their love was real and deep. It is a story that has never been told in words. Michael Jackson was fascinated by Diana, not only as an idol, but also as a mentor to his artistic soul. He learned every step, every gesture, and even how to embrace the spotlight from her. From the age of 9-10, standing next to her during rehearsals, Michael not only learned to sing, but also learned how to master the stage. Diana's presence was enough to inspire that boy with curious eyes. All of this became his artistic DNA. He did not hide his pride when talking about her influence. Their love did not need to be validated by anyone but themselves. It was not a story of showing off or making a public statement. It was a deep, sacred, and lasting spiritual connection. Michael devoted his entire life to keeping that feeling, even though he could not possess it. Diana also chose to remain silent, knowing that such a love was difficult to display. Their story is a testament to the power of unrequited love, full of respect and deep sincerity. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. The story that Diana Ross shared is not only a tribute to Michael Jackson, but also a testament to a strong friendship that transcends the spotlight and time. If you find this story meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. See you again in the upcoming exciting content.